and welcome to ICICI Foundation and CNBC18's Inclusive India series, The Livelihood Agenda. Now, according to the Indian Labour Report, 25% of the world's workers in the next 3 years will be Indian. A large workforce translates into more workers only if there are productive jobs for them. Now, this week on the show, we look at what is being done by social entrepreneurs and not-for-profit organizations to make our burgeoning workforce a lot more productive.
The government is right now both the financier, the arbiter of quality, the arbiter of timeliness, whether they will pay or not. They are judge, jury, prosecutor, everything.
Also on the show, a look at the many dimensions of rural-urban migration. Clearly, as the agri-sector shrinks, migration will be inevitable. We look at the state of informal sector in which migrants often get absorbed, and why our labour laws need some rethinking to avoid the massive casualization of labour.
Now, one may assume that becoming a part of an entrepreneurial economy would pave an assured path to success and sustainability for our youth. Yet, without the needed skills and training, market linkages and access to financial services like credit, insurance and savings, these workers are in fact more vulnerable to poverty and unemployment. The Basics Group recognized the lack of sustainable livelihood options for our youth and established itself as a Livelihood Promotion Institute in 1996. Since then, it's worked extensively on nurturing and providing pathways to sustainability to young workers. Let's take a look.
Over the past 16 years, Basics has evolved to provide a spectrum of services to help less advantaged workers. Some of its most path-breaking work has been in the area of creating a working linkage between the self-employed and financial services. From popularizing the self-help group model to making available insurance and microcredit, Basics' work in rural India has impacted over 3.5 million people.
So interestingly, we call it the livelihood triad, 3 points. The first is financial services, of which credit is one, but insurance is very important because risk, whether it is the person himself, herself, or it is the asset like the buffalo dying, so insurance is very important. Savings is very important because people need to build some, minimum balance to feel secure. Money transfers, all of this. So a bank account which enables all this to happen is important. So all this we call as inclusive financial services. The second thing is agriculture, livestock or non-farm enterprise services. That includes training, productivity enhancement, extension services, market linkages, entrepreneurship, all of that. But both of these fall flat if you do them one borrower or one consumer at a time. It's too expensive and it doesn't work. They need to work together with each other. Doesn't mean that they're sharing an enterprise. They may share some common facilities, or they may be even competing with each other. But for example, training or market linkages are common. So bringing women into groups, bringing young people into groups, bringing farmers into groups, and then providing hand-holding support to those groups so that eventually they become formalized institutions such as cooperatives or producer companies. That whole process we call institutional development.
Most recently, Basics has partnered with the central government's National Skills Development Corporation to set up the Basics Academy for building lifelong employability, or BABLE. The cornerstone of this program is to provide new age skills development and vocational training to youth in small-town India. Recruits are either fresh pass-outs from schools or dropouts who've been engaged in unskilled or semi-skilled jobs for some years. An intensive 40-day course puts trainees on the path to formal employment through courses in hotel, housekeeping, retail sales or even self-employment.
National Skill Development Corporation saw Basics as a very trustworthy organization, and we signed up with them in February 2010. Since then, it's been a crazy growth of working with the poor people. Starting from one center and 10 students in first years, we have grown to having trained around 15,000 youth last year, and having centers in excess of 75 centers in 17 states. We work in more than 150 districts.
At this residential training center in Alwar in Rajasthan, the emphasis is very high on practical learning. For example, students in the retail sales program participate in role-playing exercises to better understand the retail environment. As they practice how to operate in real-world conditions, the burden of easing into unfamiliar work decreases. Many of whom come from surrounding villages may not have had any exposure to modern retail. The students in the masonry program also acquire a large part of their training on construction sites. One such former trainee, Man Singh from this Be Able Center, was successfully able to start working as a contractor and upgrade his income from that of a regular mazdoor.
ट्रेनिंग लेने से पहले मेरे को 250 रुपये मिलते थे। उसके बाद मैं ठेकेदार के पास गया तो मेरे को 300 रुपये देने लगे, थोड़ा सा हाथ साफ करने के लिए। फिर उसके बाद में मैं खुद काम करने लगा तो 500 रुपये लेता हूँ।
There is a residential facility of 120 students who live for 45 days in the center, and we get a chance of 45 days into 24 hours to transform their lives. It's quite likely that these youth are getting any kind of education for the first time, really. The primary schools, etc., where they've passed from long time back, because most of them are school dropout kids. They've been to a formal education long time back, so getting them back, getting their attention span, etc., is very difficult. So having a residential training, engaging them before classes and at the end of classes is very important for us. That's what so residential campus allows us to do that.
Be Able maintains a wide network of alliances with potential employers. An impressive 82% of the trainees at the center receive job placements at the end of their program. Moor Singh and Rajuddin, for example, were placed in the Clark's Inn Hotel in Alwar as housekeepers and today maintain steady jobs and income. Moor Singh, who used to work in the construction space doing unskilled manual work, now receives much better pay, food and even accommodation. However, not all the trainees receive placements in Alwar itself due to relatively low demand, and a majority of them have to migrate to bigger cities. Migration to new environment with different living conditions and lack of experience can easily lead to attrition. So to ensure sustainability, trainers often accompany these workers to new cities and the local staff remains in touch over periods of time. A large effort to alter their attitudes towards work and prepare these students for working life is made via Be Able's Disha program, which nurtures a mindset towards life skills like discipline, working etiquette and persistence to help reduce attrition and promote long-term employability.